Going back then to Bring Me, what was the process with that? How did you discover them? And
that's probably one of my favourite things, actually. I saw them at a gig at the Borderline with a band called The Red Chord. You should remember those guys.
No,
God, everybody's going to be Googling all these really bad metalcore bands. So I saw them, and then I realised they were signed to a friend's label, which was 30 Days of Night, which was Jamie Farrell, who was a mate of mine. He'd moved to Leeds. He was in a band called Lab Rat that I signed to Visible Noise as well. So Jamie had signed This Is What the Edge of Your Seat Is Made For. So we bought that off Jamie and then just signed the contract with them moving forwards. So we signed them just as they turned 18.
Wow.
Which is terrifying anyway when you see where they are now.
It's incredible.
But they've always been, I mean, I always say with Bring Me, it's like Dolly mixtures. It's a real mixture of people that get on really well, who've all got their own strengths and they've all got their own like sort of foibles. But Ollie's always been ahead of the curve, I think, musically and creatively. Because I mean, the whole MySpace thing, when you look back at that now, it's so cringe, isn't it? Oh my God, it was your top 9. Oh,
that was such a big deal. In college, I remember the girls sitting around with notepads and they'd sit and they'd write out their top, was it 8 or I'm sure at one point you could add up to 64, and they'd sit and they'd list the 64 people and discuss who would get onto the list.
Get out more, innit? God, what's wrong with you? It's weird. Who's got the time for that?
I know, it's crazy. And how quickly was it with them that it sort of exploded and Ollie became the popular?
I think Ollie struggled with that kind of stuff actually early doors, because I think they really wanted to be in a band. And I remember sitting in the Holiday Inn in Camden when they'd been playing the London Barfly actually, and telling Ollie's mum and dad drunkenly that they were going to be the biggest thing ever. And it was like, and Janice, Matt Nichols' mum as well, and honestly really believing it, because they were a driving force. They're a very closed group. As in, if they don't want people there, they'll just lock down and they'll just they'll close ranks. It's like a little gang, isn't it? But I genuinely think that they've always been quite superpowered on that front, because they've always wanted it so much. And again, this goes back to the provinces thing, because I've always experienced, and I'm sorry, London, but I've always experienced people really wanting stuff more when they're not from London or they're not living in a house in Chiswick with mum and dad. Do you know what I mean? So when people really need to get out of a crappy town or a crappy job, or they're working at Asda or whatever, they really, really want to get out of there. And I think that was a big driving force for them. I mean, Lee Malia, again, another insanely talented person. And I mean, when they had Jordan, I think adding that element in was instrumental. I mean, we did an album called Suicide Season that was recorded in Gothenburg with Fredrik Nordstrom, actually. And we'd brought in a producer at that time. It's like this tiny little electronic producer that was a friend of a friend called Jamie. And we kind of just locked him in the studio with them for like a month. I feel really bad for him, because he was kind of a very different personality, and again, closing ranks. But I still think that possibly changed the way that Ollie thinks about music and metalcore, because that's when things started moving on. It's like when we did Suicide Season, Jamie's Electronica was there, and then we did Suicide Season cut up to see about remixes and collaborations and stuff. So I'm hoping that was like kind of a step to where they are now. But I mean, obviously, I'm no Jordan. You know what I mean? I mean, he's an insanely talented creature as well. But going back to how long it took, I mean, Suicide Season was more of the jump off point, I think. I think Count Your Blessings was for the purists.
Yeah. And
some of the stuff does sound like scopping a biscuit tin full of stones downstairs, really. Thank God for Pro Tools. But it's just, people are scared of things like that. And I remember, oh God, there was this one terrible Kerrang review that we had on Count Your Blessings, and I think I've still kept it. I think it's still in the back of a diary, because I used to look at it about once a week and just get really enraged. Because it's somebody that's like, you know, it's just a really, really crap review, but it doesn't say why. It's just like sort of spewing venom. This person, I just don't think liked the band. It was nothing to do with how good the album was or anything like that. But it's like sort of, you know, like a load of Sheffield numpties. She just wasn't keen, you know. And it was just, and it still pissed me off. I'll find it. I'll send you a scan of it. I've got it.
I'd love to see that.
A woman called Catherine. Well, I'll find it. Honestly, expect it in your inbox this week.
I love that you remember her name.
Oh, don't. I've got a very long memory for stuff like this.
Back to the band then. So what was the sort of financial success, and how did that affect the label? Was that a big thing? Did it? Or was it sort of just in the background because you already had these other bands that were slaying?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we were, and I mean, for the record, I'm not a millionaire or anything like that. I live in a 2-bedroom flat in Finsbury Park. But the financial success was good, you know, but I mean, realistically speaking, we still did everything ourselves. We still tour supported the band. We tour supported their first run on Warped. We tour supported when they went out to Russia, which I was kind of going, don't go. And they went, and they came back in one piece, and I'm still shocked about that. But, I mean, it wasn't as impactful, ironically, as the Lost Prophets success.
Yeah.
Because I think we put so much money into Bring Me at the time. And then, and plus our success wasn't the level of success that they had now.
Yeah,
we did the work and the discovery and, like, the ground building and stuff like that, and then it took off from there.
Is that back catalogue worth more now with their success than it was at the time?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. But I mean, you also have to appreciate that their musical form has evolved somewhat.
Yeah.
So I mean, what they're doing with, like, sort of with Throne, for instance, is very different to Pray for Plagues.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you still get your purists out there, you know, and then you get the people who sold out, and it's like, well, it's like, what do you think? It's like Bowie evolves, you know. Well, the Beatles evolved.
Yeah. It's hilarious with that, because with the club night, if we put up a poll on Instagram and we say, what do you prefer, Old Me Bring You, New Bring Me, almost 100% Old Bring Me. But if we do a club night and it's Old Bring Me, no one turns up. If we do a club night and it's New Bring Me, sold out.
Exactly. Because it's the difference between, like, sort of accessibility and the people who stand at the back at, like, a Deaf Heaven gig just nodding.
Well, it's very cool to say that you do that. It's very cool to say I prefer Old Bring Me.
Yeah.
But, like, the reality is everyone loves the new shit, which is why it's so fucking huge.
And it's very hard to dance to Old Bring Me as well,
yes.
to be fair.
I mean, that's another big thing with the club, is if we play anything you can't dance to, like, the girls go outside.
Oh, yeah.
And then the guys go outside because they're only going to go where the girls go. So
dance floor psychology.
Yeah, that's how it works. How successful do you think someone could be? I don't know how to phrase this, but if you use Ollie Sykes as the example, whether he posts or doesn't post, he's still an influencer. Like, he could stop doing anything and he'd just walk down the road and he'd still be an influencer.
But he's reached a level of God tier there, hasn't he, really, in social media?
But, like, taking away the fame, though, as an individual, he can't exist without having charisma. He just does.
You'd be surprised. When they first started, Ollie was he was a lot more withdrawn, and people used to think he was really arrogant in the early days, and he was quiet, and he just didn't want that stuff around him. He's never liked doing press or anything like that. But I think that level of artist, that's been a long time in the coming, though. That's been like 15, 18 years.
Yeah.
Really? That's long. Most bands don't last that long. I've signed artists who will split up 6 months after the album comes out, and it's infuriating. But he's been able to ride a lot of waves, but he's a polymath. And I mean, I'd love to spend a day in his brain, because I'd like to see what actually goes on in there, because I can imagine there's about 20 things bouncing around at the same time. But I mean, he's smart design wise, fashion sense is brilliant. He was always ahead of the curve with the whole MySpace thing.
Yeah, MySpace dropped dead, all that coming out at the same time.
And I mean, that was absolutely mad, and nobody else was really doing that. I think it was Famous were doing it, weren't they? Stars and Straps, and that was about it. And he's managed to do that and still retain all of that. And I don't know how he does that with being in a band and being on the road and having all of that, but where he's still very involved with it. Not many people like that. He's an ultimate polymath.
Do you think that sort of charisma then he's taught or learnt over the period of time?
I think it's innate. I think it was just unearthed. I think it's in him. His family are really interesting. His mum and dad are really good people, actually, and they're real characters, as is his brother. But I think that kind of stuff is unearthed, and it's about confidence and trust. And I think it's trust in himself.
Yeah.
More than anything. So I think, yeah, these are once in a generation music personality, I think.